I'm Elise Jesse. We've got so much to get to on this show. I'm so excited for you guys to see and hear all of this. But before we get into the nitty gritty of what's going on in the OT tonight, we got to address a really hot topic within the Cincinnati Bengals Talk group chat. It stems from the live show that James Rapine and Andrew Fox-Miller did last night. And they were asked a brilliant question by one of our loyal viewers. The question is, who is the biggest bro in the Bengals locker room? A guy that you would like to play beer pong with. So just to make sure, because Andrew and James went through an entire list of players who they thought might be the bro. They refuted and debated each other a lot. So I'm going to run this clip so you guys have all of the context ready, and then I will give you my answer afterwards.
Look, legitimate question.
Bro. Just name one, and then I'll tell you if I agree or not.
You're gonna, okay, all right.
Because that's the fun part. I'm in the locker room. You're not.
Yeah. No, I get it.
By the way, this could get me in trouble, so I don't like that. Go. CJ Uzomah needs to come back because it's an easy.
I know. Who that's the question, right? Who replaces CJ Uzomah? Is it Hayden Hurst? It's not Hayden Hurst. No, he's a little too like mild mannered. Who?
Yep. Evan McPherson got a little bro in him.
Really?
He stayed out at the halftime show. That alone,
he did.
That's Clark Harris has got a little bit, old man, bro. They got Andrew Fox-Miller, bro.
Yeah, McPherson's got a bit of a squad. Mike Hilton, that's a decent one.
I don't think Mike Hilton's a bro. Like Reader's not either. Reader loves cereal and movies. Logan Wilson, if you know,
like
a couple cocktails,
like he might go snowboarding once in a while, like you know what I mean, like it's not Joe Burrow.
No.
Okay, so a really hot topic amongst all of us at Cincinnati Bengals Talk all day today, really. I mean, Andrew, you were naming them off the list. I mean, CJ Uzomah certainly made sense in years past. And you guys said McPherson, Al Collins, Mike Hilton, DJ Reader, Logan Wilson, not Joe Burrow. Would you like to reconsider any of those answers? And do not use mine. I know you know what my answer is.
Yes, I've slept on this. I want to establish something we did not get to do when we were doing this live, because first of all, kudos to the person that asked the question, because I was completely out of my element. It's that is right in my wheelhouse. It's a question I always want to answer, that kind of stuff, and we were not ready. Like I needed to pull up a list, like just the roster. I want to establish. You mentioned CJ Uzomah. We mentioned it in that clip as well. This is essentially who we're replacing. You can define bro however you want, but at the end of the day, who's the ideal hang, right? And CJ Uzomah was the elite hang on the team. He's gone. There's a very huge, huge hole. Of the people that we listed, I'm not convinced that we found it. Everything that you heard in that clip, I'm not convinced that we have the answer. I don't know if it needs to be a combination of people. I don't know if I'm completely overlooking somebody, but here we are. You give me your thoughts, Elise. I want to hear it.
So I think if you go back, I think it's on Bengals.com, but BJ Hill is mic'd up, and you can tell that he is an absolute bro. He's friends with everybody. He makes fun of everybody. And I think he matches CJ Uzomah's energy. Okay. So if you're at a party, though, and you want to have a really good time, I would say that you would invite BJ Hill. You would probably invite Joe Mixon. You'd invite Cheeto along with that. Guys like DJ Reader and Al Collins, they would probably sit back a little bit and just kind of observe what was going on. Logan Wilson and Evan McPherson are wholesome gentlemen. I don't even think that they would be at said party. But the one thing that we did not address with this whole debacle is who would you want on your beer pong team? And based on accuracy, I would have to go with Joe Burrow for that one. Ooh. Like, he might not be the bro, but he'll definitely win you some points in beer pong.
That's a good point. I don't know why my mind immediately went to McPherson when we talk accuracy. But both have ice in their veins. I would love to see them against one another. I don't know who their teammates are. It can be anybody, fine. But I would love that. Ooh, it's a whole new question, Elise.
That would be awesome to watch. Although I don't think we'll ever get the opportunity to see Joe Burrow and Evan McPherson play beer pong together. Maybe cornhole. We could probably, if they brought it into the locker room, But Evan McPherson told me this week that he's top 10 in the locker room in beer pong. There's some really good ping pong players in that locker room. I don't know. I'd have to see it to believe it.
I like this information you're delivering. I wish we would have had you call in at the time we had this question. And I'm going to remember to do that next time.
Next time, that's your option. Just phone a friend.
Absolutely. You're going to be on retainer for these types of questions. And because James was no help. You saw it. He didn't want to get in trouble. So
see, that's why James and I compliment each other in the locker room, because he does not want to get in trouble and I am not afraid of trouble. So it just, that's
Elise,
how we roll.
A true bro.
Absolutely. That's how we try to roll in the show, right? All right, Andrew, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight. And definitely pick up the phone next time you guys are stumped on a question like that. I would love to know hopefully they can comment and let us know who they think is the biggest bro in the Bengals locker room. But the person for sure who I believe takes that title is BJ Hill, just because of his personality. He's friends with everybody.
I'm going to do some research. I'm going to be putting spreadsheets together on this. I'm going to be prepared the next time someone hits me up with a question like this. There's going to be all kinds of categories, qualifiers, strengths, weaknesses. We'll get there.
The bar just went from here up to here, and you're meeting it. Andrew, thank you. Okay, so we talked about that. We had to get into that because that was a heavily debated topic. And I also talked this week to Ja'Marr Chase, and I wanted to talk to him really about what he's doing right now, because they still have 10 days before their season opener with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, they're revisiting things that they may have installed during training camp. They're working on conditioning, which almost every player I've spoken to hates, but they know that it's necessary. But I talked to Ja'Marr this week, and he had a great conversation with me, and he was so kind to speak to me and teach me a little bit about video games. So here's the clip.
Yeah, so right now we just still getting our chemistry back. It's constantly building on chemistry, of course. And just making sure we're getting all aspects of the offense down. I'm still new, so I'm still moving around, still trying to learn new stuff. And just making sure our O-line's all together in one sync. So we're still getting the whole offense in one sync together right now.
And I didn't get to talk to you after GQ. Do your teammates still bring that up?
No, not no more. They don't. They left it alone.
Did Joe ever bring it up with you?
Yeah, he did. He did. He was talking about the photos and stuff, so that was funny.
Did he like it?
He said it was all right. He said it was all right. So.
Oh, that's it? Just all right?
It's Joe.
It was pretty good.
Right. He just messing with me. He's hating. He's hating.
How nice was it to have him back on the field full go?
It was good seeing him out there. You know what I'm saying? He's bringing energy even when he's not on the field, and I feel like that's something this unit needs, and especially when he's our captain of the team, and when he's watching us and he's not on the field, we can still definitely feel the intensity in the air.
Do you take care of your body differently right now than you do in the off season, knowing that you've got 17 games and then postseason?
Yeah, I have a different treatment method in the off season. Yeah.
Okay.
I do more of massages in the off season, so I can try to have more time to relax. But more in season, I just do acupunctures and chiropractic. That's my main two things, and stay in the tubs.
Okay. Do you eat any differently?
Oh, of course not. No. I'm still eating everything in sight. Yeah.
Hey, that's an awesome thing. I do too. We have that in common.
I'm on Ocho side versus science. I'm on Ocho side.
And outside of eating, what do you do when you're not doing football?
I'm probably playing a game. I'm a gamer.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I don't do much a lot, but play the game. If I'm doing anything, I'm probably inside watching movies or something. So I'm mostly chilled and laid back.
So I can't really talk to you about gaming because the last game I think I played was Super Mario Kart, probably.
Yeah.
On N64. But what kind of games are you playing right now?
I'm just playing like GTA, Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
So that's the whole name, that.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty. That's the only two games I'll be playing a lot. So
Awesome.
it's my off time.
I've got to say, I am extremely impressed with Jamar Chase's awareness, because the second he said GTA, he must have seen the look on my face, because I had no idea what that acronym stood for. So he explained it to me. I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, I'm a lover of the vintage video games. So Super Mario, Mario Kart on N64, I could play that all the time. That's one of the staples in our house, at least. I have not ever played Grand Theft Auto, but it sounds like it's a lot of fun if you're Jamar Chase. What else did I talk about this week? I also spoke with Darren Simmons, and I also posted a picture on my Instagram. And this picture consisted of a cot, a pillow, a blanket, and it all covered, cases and cases of Red Bull. And it was from a coach's office. And I asked you guys in a poll who you guys thought that belonged to. And those of you who answered Darren Simmons, you are correct. I spoke to him on Wednesday, and I asked him if the cot was still in his office. He said yes, and I asked him if he had slept on it. So yeah, this year. And he also verified that he slept on the cot after the Giants game. That guy he works 19 hours a day sometimes. And a lot of these coaches put in 90 hours a week in preparation for a game. And after the Giants game, of course, he said he was working until 3 a.m, just evaluating everyone's play and trying to decide, because they had a lot of cuts to make, obviously, before Tuesday at 4 p.m. And he knew that he finished work at 3, like I said, and then he knew that he was going to be back into the office at 6 a.m. So he thought, heck, I'm just going to sleep for a few hours and get right back to work. That's who Darren Simmons is. And one guy who Darren Simmons respects quite a bit is Evan McPherson. I think Evan McPherson has a lot of respect around not only Cincinnati, but the entire NFL. If you look at his stats, he only missed 2 extra points in 48 attempts. He made 12 field goals in the postseason. Money McPherson, he is just fantastic on the field. He's one of those guys, in my opinion. If you think back to the old days, Reds baseball, when you saw Johnny Cueto go out for a start, or when you saw Aroldis Chapman come into close when they were in their prime with the Cincinnati Reds, you knew that Johnny Cueto was going to win you a game. Aroldis Chapman was going to close it, and more than likely the Reds were going to come away with a win. And that's kind of how you feel when you see Evan McPherson go out onto the field for a field goal or an extra point. You just feel it in your bones that it's going to go through and points are going to be on the board for the Cincinnati Bengals. But that was a really long way of saying I had a great conversation with Evan McPherson this week, and here's the clip.
One of the most important people on the team outside of Joe Burrow. How would you respond to that?
I mean, that's a super cool comment, I guess, from some of the Cincinnatians, as you would say. But even though I guess I had the winning kicks, my team set me up for that, definitely. So I can't take all the credit, but I just kind of out there doing my job, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And, you've had a full off season to prepare. Mm-hmm. What has Darren Simmons said to you about preparing for 2022?
We've talked about it a good bit, and he's helped me out a lot, in the transition from year 1 to year 2. And, for me, it comes down to being a little more consistent, just in hitting the ball, and just more consistent in my work and staying healthy, and, in practice, being a little more consistent there as well.
Yeah.
And so, he's really stayed on me this offseason and within this OTAs and training camp, and really pushed me to challenge myself and compete against myself.
And you have a little under 2 weeks before the season opener. Mm-hmm. But what's the difference between right now, outside of 90 guys not being in the locker room?
Yeah.
What's the difference between right now getting ready for the game and what it was a week ago in training camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to treat it as no different. Just because, like in the preseason, I'd say, a lot of the guys have a little more fun just because, maybe you think that these games don't mean as much as regular season games, but, I think that I'm really going to try to kind of treat them the same and just continue to do the same things I've been doing.
And what do you like most about this team so far?
I just love the team camaraderie. I mean, obviously we've got 2 ping pong tables, a poker table, and so we love to play against each other, compete against each other, and just how close everybody is. I feel comfortable going up to anybody and just striking a conversation or eating lunch with anybody. So I love how close this team really is.
I've noticed that you guys got an official card table instead of just a folding table.
Yeah.
Do you walk up, if you have to choose between cards and ping pong, which one are you going with?
I'm going ping pong definitely just because I don't know much about the whole card or gambling setting, so I'm going to stay away from that table.
Are you good at ping pong?
I'm decent. I'm probably maybe top 10.
Okay,
So,
that's pretty good in this in this locker room.
It's decent. I can definitely get better.
Last question for you.
Okay.
Have you seen Darren Simmons' cot in his office?
Caught?
Yeah, he has a cot, like a sleeping bag.
I have not, but I definitely have heard about it just because, like, I'm not going to say the psycho he is, but just like the guy he is, it doesn't surprise me that he stays, in his office some nights just because he's here so late watching film, breaking down other teams. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he has a cot in there.
Yeah, in order for Darren Simmons to do the job at the level that he does it at and sustain that for as many years as he has to know the strength and weaknesses of every single guy on that training camp roster. And they go through him a lot of the time to make that decision because he watches tape relentlessly, as Evan McPherson kind of noted too. And another guy who has spent time with both Evan McPherson and Darren Simmons is former Bengals kicker, 15-year veteran, Shayne Graham. He joined me this evening, and I would love for you guys to hear his conversation because we had a great one, and he never disappoints. And we are welcoming in Shayne Graham, 15-year NFL career. And I've got to say this because people are in Cincinnati right now are obsessed with Evan McPherson, but I'm just going to make sure that I read these stats off because McPherson currently holds an 84.8 field goal percentage. And you, Shayne, during your career, held an 85.5 field goal percentage. Also extra point, you beat him there. 98.6, he's got a 95.8. So even though we think McPherson is all the way up here, we've got to remember that when you were on the team and throughout your career, you were money as well.
Well, I don't know that that's entirely fair. I mean, I think he made more 50-yard plus field goals in one season than I think I made in my entire career at Cincinnati. So I think if you throw that in there and you throw some of his misses that were probably a little longer, it's not necessarily a fair comparison to look at that. So
very humble of you. We thank you. We like humbleness on this show. And I wanted to talk to you about being in the situation where the game hinges on your kick. You've talked before about how important technique is, but what about the mental aspect? How do you make sure that not only your technique is on point, but also your mind when you're going into a situation like that?
Well, without the mental part, your technique pretty much will fall apart. I mean, and that's the whole key to staying at a high performance level is knowing that your confidence and your preparation keeps you so that you're not thinking about technique. You're not thinking about results or anything like that. And while, most of my career, I made most of those kicks, there were some times that I missed those kicks. And I don't know that that's, something you can attribute to not being mentally, strong or prepared. But, sometimes things just happen and you don't perform at your best. And, that's the one thing I think that makes Evan special is his confidence is like flatline. There is no like peaks and valleys with his confidence. He is Evan, and he stays in one lane. And that lane is one where he's very confident. He's got a good work ethic. He trusts in himself and he trusts in the work that he does, that I don't think he's ever really thinking about, oh man, if I miss, this is going to be bad or whatever. I think it's just, I'm confident in what I do. I'm confident in how I'm prepared. So all I have to do is just stay normal and everything will work out the right way. And I think it shows. I mean, everyone knows that Evan has a very confident air to him, but a lot of people can fake confidence. And I think when you look at Evan's eyes and you see the look on his face, it's not fake. I mean, it's real, and it's good. It's not too high, and a lot of people can say, oh, well, he's a little too confident. Well, no, he needs to be confident. Yeah. Have you ever seen a wide receiver or a defensive back that is not confident about their ability? And
no.
Exactly,
not a good one anyway.
So for a kicker to be confident, it's a great thing. And I think when you look at some guys that have had a lot of success, Justin Tucker in Baltimore, he's no Evan McPherson, but, he has very high percentages and has done some great things in his career. And I don't think anyone is ever going to question his confidence just because of the way he carries himself. And, Evan is just a guy, whether he's saying, I guess we're going to the AFC Championship or whatever, like he's just confident because he doesn't have anything to be afraid of. Because you know what, if you miss, life goes on, and maybe you'll get, kind of ridiculed on Twitter or whatever, but life goes on, and we learn to live from those, mistakes or imperfect performances, and it prepares us for the next performance. And I think that he's done a great job, and I found myself very blessed to be able to work with him and let him learn from any of the mistakes I ever made or any of the things that I did right, and let him, continue to build his mental preparation as much as his physical talent, because we all know what type of physical talent he is, but the mental is what makes him special. So you're right on that.
Well, and I would believe that you would have added confidence if you are well prepared and you know exactly what to do in every situation, and you know that your coach is going to put you in a situation to be successful, which Darren Simmons, for example, is extremely good at. What do you think? I mean, Darren's been in this game for decades. He's held his job with the Bengals for multiple decades, which is unheard of, kind of like Paul Alexander in that regard. What do you think of the way that he approaches his work? Earlier in the show, we were talking about Darren Simmons because he has a cot in his office with a pillow and a blanket, and he used it after the Giants game because he was working so long until 3 a.m, and he knew he was going to be back at work at 6, so he just slept at the office.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about the guy that he is. He said before, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And I would just love to hear from your perspective what you think about how he approaches the game.
Well, I was exposed to Darren as my coach in 2002. He was the assistant at Carolina when I played for the Panthers in 2002. And when after that season, he got the job at Cincinnati, and things worked out to where, I think Neil Rackers got hurt. They brought me in, and throughout my time with Darren, I've always known he's extremely detail oriented. And I mean, it is painstakingly detail oriented.
Yes.
And that painstaking attention to detail is what makes people successful. Right. And, I learned a lot of the stuff that I did from coaching. I got it all from Darren, and even after my playing career, you probably saw me in the building a good bit because I was spending time with Darren because I looked at him as a mentor. And, I had an air mattress in my office, and there were plenty of times that I slept on that. And, after, learning how Darren dealt with what do we do with our time during practice, what do we do with our, attention to detail, studying the other team, studying ourselves, all of those things. It's no surprise that Darren is, I believe, the second longest tenured coach in the NFL right now behind Bill Belichick. There may be some other assistant coach who's never gone anywhere in that span, but I'm not familiar if there are.
We have to check that.
It gives me no surprise that I mean, for Evan to go from me and then to Darren, I think was probably one of the most seamless transitions he could have had. And just knowing that Darren doesn't just, pay attention to the X's and the O's. I mean, he has his kickers and punters and long snapper. Like, he's got those guys prepared so that they understand the schemes that they're going to see against them. They're going to understand proper tackling leverage when they need to be in position to tackle. All of those things that I think made me successful with, coverage on kickoff and understanding how to help my teammates if there were people that weren't quite understanding things or they were new to the game or whatever. Having that attention to detail surrounding me with Darren, leaked into my own life and to where I started learning how to pay painstaking attention to detail.
Right.
Like it is something that you take for granted until you need it. And then when you need it, you get the results like Evan McPherson. And I think that's what I think really is just exponentially helped Evan, is to have Darren on staff there. And, not that Evan would not have had success somewhere else, but I think it was just a perfect fit to be there with Coach Simmons.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And speaking of a perfect fit, Joe Burrow and this buzzsaw of an offense, they just seem to they do really well. And we saw it last year. We expect them to do well again this year. And this week, Joe did speak to the media. And Shayne, I want to get your reaction to what he said. I mean, it blew up all over social media. So many of you watching may have seen it, but I just want to get Shayne's reaction first.
I would say our skill players, if not the best in the league, they're rivaling every single team in the division, in the league. Those guys work really hard to get good at what they do, and you got to pick your poison. If you're going to play too high, you're going to have to deal with Joe Mixon in the run game, and if you decide to play man, then good luck.
I don't see anything wrong with saying that, but both.
Yeah, me either.
But both teams have guys that are paid a lot of money to play football, and I think that no matter what you say, if you have confidence in your own team, I have zero problem with having confidence in your own team. It still comes down to you got to play ball and you got to face up in your matchups and your team has to gel together and perform as a unit. As long as you're not giving fodder to the fire of locker room bulletin board material, stuff like that. But I think everyone knows, like, there's certain players that you have to play against them a certain way. Obviously, if you go too high against a certain player, the low man wins. And if you're playing against a guy that has really good physical ability to beat man-on-man, matchups, then you have to deal with that as well. So I think showing confidence in your team, not only does it show that you're confident in your team, but your team feeds from that confidence as well. And I think when a team knows that they have a leader that's able to project the confidence of the team, then they believe in him even more as well. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, and, there is a stat out there that talks about the majority of 9 out of 10 NFL teams who lose in the Super Bowl the next year have a down year offensively. And I think what was missing from that stat was the fact that those teams that had a down year the next year usually had contract situations where they lost a lot of players and utility guys. The Bengals are in a situation, though, where they have Joe Burrow coming back and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd. It doesn't seem like they would be part of the statistic, right?
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think there was even some interior upgrades or maybe some beef up in that part. And you learn from the mistakes that even though you had success, there were still challenges you faced, and you learn from those challenges and see where you can improve. And it's not to say that everything's going to go perfect, but I think you can also learn from those situations. And I think we've seen teams, not to be like, the Buffalo Bills of the 90s or anything, but those guys would lose a Super Bowl and there they were again the next year and the next year and the next year for 4 years straight. Now, unfortunately, they never won one, but I think that, when you fall into a lot of cliche things and people say, oh, well, you'll never do it again, or, the statistics say you never do it. But for every statistic, there's some sort of a variable that makes them all mean nothing because you still got to line up and suit up and play the game. And That's why a lot of those prediction shows that come on and they show, who's going to win this game. And 5 of the reporters on this show were like, well, I picked this team and I picked this team and I picked this team. And then everybody gets mad at the guy who doesn't pick the same way or whatever. And the fans get all mad about it. Well, then you got to play the game.
Right.
And none of those predictions ever come out. I mean, it's like, in my opinion, I think that preseason AP top 25 for college football is the most useless thing in the world because it rewards teams for having a good recycling recruiting class, but yet it has nothing to do with the talent they actually have. And then when you start seeing the wins and losses, it all gets shuffled up, but the teams that started out high end up, being rewarded for losing early, and then the teams that started out lower get penalized for losing late, even though it was still one loss. And I think it's useless. So I think anytime you try to make those predictions based off of past statistics and past stats, I just think are useless. And I just prefer guys suit up and, go play and see what happens.
I would have to agree with you there. When I first started out, I thought that the AP top 25 football, basketball were important, and I paid attention to it. But then I married Mike Rayfeld, who's also in the coaching world. And I remember talking about the top 25 in referral to college basketball. And he looks at me and he goes, what does that have to do with how we play on Wednesday night? That has nothing to do with whether or not we go to the NCAA tournament or not. Those do not matter. I'm like, okay, noted. Those are not.
And if anything, it can be somewhat detrimental to certain teams because say you put a team in there ranked at number 5, and that team ends up losing like 3-4 games that year. But then a team that was ranked at 20 who goes through and just beats on everybody, but they can't make it into the top 4 because the top 4 teams maybe did well, or they can't make it into the top 4 because maybe number 2 or 3 lost or whatever. And in order for them to get in, it was like, well, their ranking was never high enough to get them up there early enough. Yeah. So then the other teams, can just finish out and they're kind of sitting there comfortable when this other team actually earned it. But those teams that were ranked really high and lost a couple games early or lost a game early, it keeps out teams that probably deserve to be there. And I think if you wait till week 5, honestly, that's when you find out who really deserves to be in the top 5 or the top whatever. Right. And that's just my opinion, though.
No, we agree in that area for sure. I know I promised you I wouldn't take up too much of your time, but I'm going to leave you with this story. And I know you're a very humble person, but I've got to tell you this story because I don't know if you know it. So I went to Oak Hills High School.
I remember speaking at your high school.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to reference. I think I was a junior or senior in high school at this point. But we would have pep rallies ahead of football games Fridays. And it was just, in my opinion, it was just a way to get out of calculus or algebra or something like that. But this is the one pep rally. And I'm a crowd watcher. I don't know if you are too, but you know how you notice if a crowd shifts their body language and mannerisms.
Oh, yeah.
So you weren't out yet. And then we knew when you were, before we could see you, because we were up in the bleachers, that you were walking out because all of a sudden, all of the teachers changed their their demeanor when you walked out. And it ended up being one of the best pep rallies, the only pep rally that I can truly remember from my high school days because it was that much of a good time. And I don't know if you've done a lot of those, but I feel like you should definitely add party entertainer to your list if you haven't already.
I was never really known for being shy. I'll say that. So I'm sure if there was a good time to be had, I was trying to help it out and nudge it on a little bit.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, that was the first time I actually saw your face because when I was 17 watching Bengals games, you had a helmet on, obviously. So,
yeah.
Like, oh, okay, that's what the guy looks like. There we go. It's nice to talk to you. I appreciate you taking the time out.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot a couple times today. You're awesome.
Oh, no worries. My pleasure.
Shayne is always good to talk to. And in the words of Darren Simmons, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. I'll see you guys next week on the OT on Thursday night at 8 o'clock.